So, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, just like generally?
Sure. So my name is Ms.Chapnick. I was born in New Orleans, raised in St. Louis. We moved around a lot, and eventually I made my way to California, and I was there for about 8 years. And then I decided to move here to DC, and I've been here for almost 7 years.
Okay. So, what is your family's background?
So, well, I'm adopted. So my birth family, my birth father was Chinese American,
Mm-hmm.
and then my birth mother was white. But my adopted parents, my real family, their ethnicity is Eastern European, so they're both first generation American, and we're Jewish.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So, are there any memorable family moments from your childhood that you'd like to share from us?
Multifaceted, because definitely I was raised in a very Jewish household.
Mm-hmm.
I went to public school, but then I had Hebrew school 3 days a week, Sunday school, Saturday school, youth group, went to Jewish summer camps, and so that's a big influence on my life. But then when I was younger, I didn't know what my ethnicity was. So I think, I got teased a lot, and then, but when I was 14, my parents wrote to the adoption agency, and they got whatever information they could, and that's when I found out what my background was. And I think that for a long time, I just kind of like brushed it under the table, and because growing up in St. Louis, the Asian American community at the time was very, very small, and so it wasn't something I really identified with until after I graduated from college.
Mm-hmm.
And moved to Japan. So
Oh.
I lived in rural Japan, and I think it was there that I really started to identify more, not just as American, but as Asian American, because a lot of our history just was in my face, and I had to really, like, oftentimes, people always ask you, oh, where are you from? Where are you really from? That happens all the time here. But in Japan, and also being mixed race, it's definitely something that happens a lot more there. And so I definitely just started, investigating more about what that meant to me.
What is your current occupation and position? And could you describe maybe some of the positions you've had in the past that have led you to where you are now?
So I definitely took a very windy road. So very briefly, now I am a sales lead over at REI, the Recreation Equipment Incorporated. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's a really, really fun, awesome store. So prior to this, I did several different adventures, and I was teaching English in Japan. Then I came back, and I was working in the mental health field at a high school. And then I was doing communications at the Japanese consulate, and I decided to go back to school. So I went to law school, and it took me a really long time to come to grips with it, that wasn't something that I necessarily wanted. I had a lot of pressure from my family to go back to school, because by that time I was already over 30, and they said, why are you going back to school? I was really happy doing what I was doing, but I went, and it was definitely the most challenging period of my life. After I graduated, it was when the economy tanked, and so I ended up, all my friends who graduated before me said, oh my gosh, if you can find somewhere else to go, you should go. And at the time, I'd never lived on the East Coast, and my brother lived here. So I said, okay, I'll go check it out. I had come to a conference here in DC. There are a lot of awesome nonprofits that were doing great work for the community. So I said, yeah, I'll go to DC. And when I got here, it was a total culture shock. So people are very, very intense, and they are very fast-paced. I know compared to other cities on the East Coast, not as fast-paced, but to me it was really, really fast-paced. And then I ended up doing consulting for a while, and then I was the director over at the National Council for Asia Pacific Americans, for NCAPA. So it's a coalition of 35 national organizations, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander organizations, and they do advocacy from everything from health, education, civil rights, immigration, to housing and economic justice.
What was like the category that you were most passionate about while you were working with them?
I think, at the time, definitely, there were so many. So, language access was always a really, really important issue. Immigration was something while I was there that was really a big issue, comprehensive immigration reform, which is still obviously very important, and also health. I think that especially within the API community, oftentimes because of the model minority myth, health and education, both of those two, and economic justice, I think that the API communities were definitely the hardest hit when the housing bubble hit, and so folks just forget that that our community is very, very, very diverse and impacted in different ways. And with health, there's diabetes and hepatitis and heart disease that really impact our communities in different ways, and underinsurance. I could go on and on, but yeah, I think that I think raising awareness to how our communities are impacted is just really important.
A Japanese consulate for a while. So what did you do while you were there?
I was the communications director while I was there. So it was, because I was in San Francisco, it's one of the larger consulates in the United States, so we were dealing a lot with interface with the community on various issues like whaling, comfort women, the rape of Nanking was a big issue also. So responding to the community on those issues, and then also writing speeches and hosting events with the community as well.
What observations do you have of the lives of APAs today?
Observations? I think I'm very hesitant to make a broad sweeping statement about the lives of APAs today. But if I could make any statement, I think I think that the model minority myth still exists, and then the perpetual foreigner also. I think that's something that troubles me, and I wish that we were still all seen as Americans. And but I think the lives of I am very hopeful when I see, especially here in DC, I see a lot of young APAs who are very, very active in the community. And even after Ferguson, I know that such a wide, diverse community of APA youth got together and, as a Google Doc, which I think is so cool, created a document to write to their parents, explaining why Black Lives Matter. And I think that, to me, just the fact that people from all over came together and were able to use technology to create this document to share with their parents, that's really amazing. That's remarkable. And I think that is making a wonderful step forward. So it gives me hope to see community activism like that.
And that you didn't want to make a broad sweeping comment about APs in general. Do you think one of the reasons is because some people generalize Asians as all in one aspect, we come from one country, or we're one person basically. So do you think that's something that needs to be addressed in the community today?
I think it's twofold. I think there's that, and I think that we definitely need to it's similar to the Latino community, right? People are we're not all Mexican, right? So I think it's similar in our communities. It's really important for folks to recognize the diversity within our communities and recognize that all of our communities are they come together under this umbrella because of a construct here in this country, and because of being perpetual foreigners, right? And the way that the immigration laws have evolved in this country because of really wanting to keep people out, and especially it started with the Chinese Exclusion Act, right? So I think there's that, but I think that it is important to recognize the diversity of our communities and not to have one broad overarching statement. But at the same time, it's also because of where we are right now and the xenophobia that's on the rise. I think it's that much more important that we don't just make broad sweeping statements. And everybody's journey in this country is different. How folks got here is different, and a lot of us are native born too, right? And so it's really important that while we may have some shared history, it's we should also be able to celebrate all the amazing things that we each bring to this country too.
What advice can you share with students who are just starting their professional careers?
I would say, really be open, be flexible, be curious. If you have questions, ask. But also, if you have opinions, don't be afraid to share them, because I think that it's when we hold ourselves back that we don't develop and we don't progress. And so I think that the more you're able to find an environment where you're able to really flourish and grow, that's where you're going to really be happiest. But I would also say that don't be afraid either that if you're not happy, to take a deep breath and reevaluate and say, okay, what's not making me happy? Is there something we can change about the situation, or I do be okay with changing to a whole new situation, trying something new.